familiar with Justice and Beyond, would like for you to know that we have been doing this work doing this work for nearly a decade as we fight for justice on many different fronts, specifically focusing on housing justice, environmental justice, criminal justice, education justice within our education system. And so we come together every Monday to educate, and then at times we come together to agitate and work towards actions that will bring people together to make change wherever we can possible. And so we've been, again, doing this work for 10 years and continue to do it. We moved to this forum, this platform rather, during COVID, and continue to do this until we see fit to do otherwise. And so we're glad that you're here tonight. We're going to go ahead and begin. Know this, that it is our goal always to create a safe space. And so, as Valerie stated earlier, we want to operate in peace, love, and respect, that we can disagree with each other, but never disrespect each other. So as we come into this place right now. And so we're very glad and honored to have the candidates from district who are running for District 23 and the candidates that are running for District 91 join us tonight. We know this is a very busy time as we end as we near the end of this race, and we're so glad that you gave your time to be with us tonight and here. And so we're going to head and I'm going to introduce the candidates for District 23 one by one, and ask that you would give a brief 1-minute introduction of yourself. And so I'm going to start with Mr. Brian Jefferson. Welcome, Mr. Jefferson. We're glad that you're here tonight. Would you give a 1-minute introduction, please?
Yes, thank you for having me, Reverend Manning and Valerie. My name is Brian Jefferson. I'm a native New Orleanian here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share a bit about myself and my platform. I'm an attorney here in our city. I practiced law for 30 years. And during that, over those 3 decades, I've had the privilege and the honor of representing thousands of people. And I can take that experience with the many personalities and backgrounds and parlay that into effective negotiations and representation as it relates to other legislators in the state capitol to arrive at various edicts or laws and passing bills for the betterment of the citizens of District 23 and the city as a whole. My platform covers many areas like everyone else, but at the top today would be insurance and crime. I'm happy to have read this morning that our violent crime is on the down slope and it's reducing here in the city, but it's no time to be complacent. We need to keep heading in that direction. And education is big also. I have ideas about education and infrastructure as well. So thank you, Reverend and Valerie and Justice, and for affording me the opportunity to share this time with you. And I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. We appreciate you being here tonight. Mr. Sean Minna, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. 1 second. Hey, how's it going? Yes, sir. You are saying that correctly.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. And I actually just logged in, so I'm assuming we're doing introductions.
Yes, sir. 1-minute introduction, please.
Got it. How's everybody doing? My name is Sean Minna. I'm a local attorney and business owner. I've lived in District 23 my entire life, having gone to all public schools within District 23 as well, from elementary all the way up to graduating from Warren Easton. And then I got a chance to go to LSU and then eventually graduate from Southern University Law Center as well. In between that time, I became very intimately aware of policy, having worked for Governor Kathleen Babineau Blanco as a policy analyst, and also US Senator Mary Landrieu out there in DC, working on policy issues as well. I feel like I'm almost up at, is there a minute timer or something? Or
There is, and you're probably at about that. So thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate you being here, Mr. Minna. Pearl Ricks, would you please give us a 1-minute introduction of yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you all, and thank you for creating the space for us to share. My name is Pearl Ricks. My pronouns are they, them. During my day-to-day, I'm the executive director of the Reproductive Justice Action Collective, and through every moment of my life, I've been a community organizer and a mutual aid organizer growing up with those values around me. I decided to get into this race because amongst mutual aid organizing, community organizing, I've also done legislative advocacy for the past 5 years. And every year up at the Capitol during legislative session, it is seen more and more the imbalance of priorities from the bulk of our legislators. They're attacking our education, they're attacking our SNAP benefits, and I want to add to the voices of reason and overpower and disrupt the voices that are unreasonable. I'm looking to ensure that we have our safety, our dignity, and our privacy in our hands and secure. We have a freedom to thrive, an opportunity to be safe, and a place to call home. One more time, my name is Pearl Ricks. My ballot number is 51, and my pronouns are they, them. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearl. We appreciate that your description, your introduction. Let me ask now for Tammy Savoy. Is Tammy here tonight?
You're on mute, Mr. Boy.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
All right, that's no problem. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Justice and Beyond. My name is Tammy Savoy, and I am running to represent the good people of District 23, the heart of New Orleans. I will work tirelessly to improve the lives of our citizens. I'm going to fight for the sustainability of our historic new district, both economically and environmentally. I will fight for your safety and your health care. I'll fight so that every child in our district has opportunity and the advantages that a quality education brings. I will fight for you. This race is deeply personal for me. I was born and raised in New Orleans. I love our city. I love our district. I'm a clinical psychologist and a retired Air Force officer. During the wars, I deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. I did evaluations across those countries to make sure that our service members had the medical services they needed. And then back at the Pentagon, I wrote that policy, and then I made sure that the policy was codified so that every troop had the mental health and medical services they needed. I will do no less for our citizens of our district, our city, and our state. Thank you so much, Tammy Savoy, ballot number 52.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that introduction. Let's start now with our questions, and we're going to begin with Sean Mina. The first question is,
Pastor Manning.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, will you let the candidates know how many minutes they have? And yes. then this here sign will let you know that you have it's almost up. Then this here sign will tell you, please stop. So this sign, when you just have a couple of seconds, this sign, please stop. Pastor Manning will let you know how many minutes you have. Okay,
and we're going to give 2 minutes for each question. All right, we're going to start with Mr. Mina here. And the question is, tell us a little bit about I'm asking you, please describe the demographics of your new district and what challenges, in your view, are you facing? Mr. Mina.
Yes, this district was actually created after the 2020 census. And basically the demographics of this district is that it's the Mid-City area, Holly Grove area, Gerttown area, 7th Ward area as well. And it was created by the Louisiana legislature as a minority-majority district as well. So it's a very diverse district. There's a large Hispanic population as well. And both of my parents are actually from Honduras as well. Basically, what we're facing in this district is there's a lot of infrastructure problems in the district. When I was driving through the district on Labor Day, as a matter of fact, we experienced 1 hour of rain and there was a lot of flooding going on. So we need to make sure that our infrastructure is taken care of. And also economic development, I believe, is a big thing. I think it was mentioned earlier that violent crime is actually down throughout the last year. But what we're experiencing a lot is a lot of property crime. So that's indicative of people that are hurting. So we need to make sure that we actually can attract good paying jobs to the district. And that's one thing that I'm very concerned about, and I will be fighting for the people of District 23 up there every day. Also, we need insurance relief as well, because a lot of our homeowners and also the renters in our district are being negatively affected by that. The homeowners due to the increase in insurance, and also the renters as well, because that cost is eventually passed on to the renters sometimes too. So those are the big things, and we just need to make sure that our infrastructure is really keyed in on, and that's what I want to do and fight for every day at the legislature.
Thank you very much for that answer. Pearl Ricks, how would you describe the demographics of your new district, and what are the challenges as you see it?
So yes, spot on, Sean, in that this is a new number, but none of these communities are new. I'm very excited. I get all of my data from Louisiana.Redistricting in You, which is a project from Louisiana Progress, but it is a highly Black and of color district. There is a high Hispanic population. And when you're looking at the total population and the voting age, you're looking at like a little over half. So that lets us know that we have a lot of young people in our district. And we also have a lot of folks that are young professionals or starting off their careers. I believe that we need to ensure that everyone intergenerationally, and regardless of their race, their sex, their gender, their religion within the district, has access to a high quality of life. So that may be through ensuring that we have programs to connect opportunity youth or youth between the ages of 16 and 24 to education opportunities, because we know a large percentage are disconnected from the education system. So re-engagement programming, or ensuring that there is workforce training, and ensuring that there is workforce training for both of those groups, ensuring that we offer early education for free to our families, and that they don't have to be traveling all across the city to ensure that their children have an education. And of course, ensuring that people can work in environments that are safe and unionize in environments that are safe. So that's a little bit about the demographics of the district. And that is just a small portion of what I look to do as a champion for District 23. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Savoy, same question.
Yes, as far as the demographics, you know, about 50% of the population are African-American or of African descent, another 30% are white or Caucasian descent, and another 20% are Hispanic, Asian, and other, okay? Of course, New Orleans is a majority minority city, so it doesn't matter where you put a district, it's probably going to be pretty majority minority. The district actually was created because we gained population, and it was they had to give us a district. There wasn't a choice in the matter, because we lost 6 districts after Katrina. We got enough population back to grow our state legislative caucus by 1 district, and they decided to put it in Mid-City primarily with the surrounding neighborhoods to make sure that we all had representation, because before this district was created, Mid-City was cut up into 4 different districts. We had 4 different representatives, along with Holly Grove was cut up. So the way that they did it was a really good deal, and I applaud them for that. But it was created because we had more folks, we grew, okay? So I'm looking at, in terms of what we need to do, local issues. Affordable housing is number 1, insurance property, infrastructure, flooding, public safety and crime. We need to take care of all of those things. Public social justice issues, healthcare, education, pre-K for all 4-year-olds, criminal justice reform, LGBTQ issues, and undergirding everything is the environment, because we don't take care of the environment and deal with climate change and global warming, we're not going to have a city to live in. So those are the issues that I want to cover: local, social justice, environment, and make sure that we are tackling everything head on and making sure we're fighting every day for our citizens of District 23. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for that answer. Brian Jefferson, same question.
Yes, I can't see the smiley face on the stop sign, so I'll be brief. Demographics, I agree with my colleagues. Basically, it's a majority African-American district and a majority Democratic district. At the top of my list, like I said earlier, are crime and insurance. As far as crime is concerned, we need to stop crime before it even starts. A lot of crime, outside of the violent crime, a lot of crimes are committed due to, are connected to drug abuse, or mental health deficiencies. And a lot of these issues are intertwined because you can take those same two issues and they can apply to homelessness as well. Also, if we started more vocational training in prisons before people are released, we would cut down on recidivism and things of that nature. On the insurance front, that just affects districts throughout the city as a whole, really the whole Gulf Coast. And it's as simple as this, sitting down and asking insurance companies, number one, what do we have to do to get you back? Because once we get insurance back in the fold, competition would inure to the benefit of reduced premiums across the board. That's homeowners insurance. Then there's also the issue of auto insurance, where a person's credit score is used to determine how much they're charged for insurance. And not only is that fundamentally fair, it just makes no sense. And you can have a person with a terrible driving score, a driving record, and a good credit score pay less in insurance than a person with an excellent driving record and a poor credit score. On top of that is the education issue, because if you take care of education, you're addressing crime now and in the future. Certain issues really affect today, but there's certain remedies that we can put into place for the long picture, the long haul. So when we start early education with our young kids in first, second, third, and fourth grade when it comes to reading, they're not concentrating on reading when they're in high school, addressing serious issues or challenging issues or classes like physics, chemistry, trigonometry, and calculus. That has to be a layup when you're shooting 3-pointers. You can't concentrate on things like that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bryan.
right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move to the next question. This is going to be for Pearl Ricks first. We've talked a lot and you all have mentioned a lot what your passions are and what you want to change, what those challenges are. I think you've summed that up pretty well. This next question is clearly stated. What are your priorities district-wide and statewide? And so let's kind of narrow that in a little bit. And in terms of priorities, what is kind of, if you had to just go for one thing, if that's going to define your time in office, kind of what would it be district-wide and statewide, instead of going so broadly, mentioning many things? Let's talk about one thing that you're really going to focus on, one or two, I'll say, district-wide and statewide. And so we're going to start with Pearl Ricks first.
Thank you for that. I heard you say one or two, so that loosened it up just a bit for me. I appreciate that. So the first thing I would do is something that I've been researching for the past 2 years. It's around ballot readability. The reason why this is one of my top priorities is, one, because it is necessary, and I'll explain why in a moment, but also because it is something that everyone should be able to agree on. Everyone who is voting on this should want all of their constituents and all of the folks voting to understand what they're voting on. So in Louisiana, legislation is proposed at about a 16-year formal U.S. education reading level. By the time it gets to become a constitutional amendment, which we see 4 on the ballot this year that are very confusing and deceitful, I would say, they elevate that reading level. So people are asked to vote on ballots that are reading at a 25-year formal U.S. education reading level. When you look at the literacy rate within Louisiana, we are not setting up our constituents or anyone within the state for success by having language that is so complex and having an education system that still has so much to be desired. In addition, a complex base language means that any translation is more likely to be inaccurate, and folks that are voting in different languages don't have the ability to fully grasp what is happening. So I would like to see legislation be proposed and written for voters at a middle school reading level so that they are better able to assess the impacts of what they're voting on. So many times people vote and then a poll goes through and they actually do not agree with the action that was taken because this language is so powerful, is so complex, and is so out of reach for the everyday person. So I'm running out of time. I didn't get to go to my second thing, but that is one of the first actions I would do to pull everyone together. A broken clock is right at least twice a day. That's going to be at least my one time that first day.
Thank you very much for that answer. Tammy Savoy, same question.
Yes, if I had 2 things to go for over the course of my tenure, I would make it environmental climate change, and focus on that because that is an existential issue, and the environmental racism, and also poverty and what we can do with poverty. The environmental issues, I wish and I would push for us to go big. We really need a comprehensive approach to make sure that we are fortifying our homes across our cities and fortifying our city. So what does this mean? I really think we need to go full force on, make sure if we have to subsidize it, it doesn't matter. We will make this money back. We need a grand program, something like the FDR program, to fortify everybody's home, everybody's roof, okay? Everybody needs storm shutters. Everybody's house has to be fortified. Then we need to fortify our cities to make sure that, our levees are strong, our streets can withstand hurricanes. We have the canopies we need the coastal restoration program in place. We need to move to sustainable energy as quickly as possible. We need to subsidize solar energy, wind energy, and we need to do this in a big way. So I am all for going big on environmental justice and environmental programs. I think this is the only thing that we can do to save ourselves. I think how we pay for this in the short term is, the BP oil spill, they have lots of money that gave us. We can use some of that. They're using it for the coastal restoration, which is a good thing. But I also think that all of the large companies that are the oil companies that are making so much money off of our state need to pay back, need to put into that fund, the environmental restoration fund, basically, that they ravaged our state. They need to pay us back. And then we can raise tax, whatever we have to do. We need to go big on this. The second one is poverty. Raise the minimum wage, bring back the child tax credit, which automatically reduce poverty to the lowest levels in 60 years. Once we let the child tax credit go, child poverty rates in our rose to 12.8% again. We need to implement that immediately. This is legislatable. We can do it. That's it.
All right. Thank you for that answer. Brian Jefferson.
Yes. So when I think about this, all these issues, we have very good ideas that pop in our minds. We must also keep in mind, though, cost and how is this going to be paid for? My main objective, very generally speaking, is to help the working families of our city and its district to keep as much money in the home as possible. So in no specific order, gun safety. I'm going to take the octopus approach. I want to talk about something that can be addressed, but the tentacles can reach out and affect other areas. When I think of gun safety, there's something called biometric trigger locks, which associates a firearm with the fingerprint of the owner. A firearm can only be fired by the owner of that gun. Many crimes are committed with stolen weapons. A lot of our property crimes, people walking through your neighborhoods at night, pulling on the door handles and going in your cars, they're looking for weapons, breaking into your cars at Saints games and Pelican games. They're really looking for weapons. And a lot of crimes are committed with these stolen weapons. A stolen weapon is inoperable in this particular case. Or if a child plays with a gun, what is the most horrifying story that a parent can experience than when we read these stories about children injured playing with guns? If a child fouled a gun with a biometric trigger lock, it can't be fired. It's just a lump of metal. Then you get into crime itself. We need to stop crime, like I said earlier. We need to do our best to stop it before it starts. We are humans. We want the easy route for things. Nobody wants to have to steal in order to get money to do whatever we want to have it. We just want to have the money. But some people feel like they're forced to. That's why they're committing crimes. Some of these crimes are driven by drugs. So if we increase drug rehabilitation before these crimes are committed, some people are mentally incapacitated. If we help those folks, we will also be helping the homelessness that we're dealing with. I was just reading on Sunday how we're getting a lot of federal aid now to
Thank you
on some of these homeless encampments.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I wish I had more time. Thank you, Ms. Valerie.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. Sean Mina, same question.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. Being a New Orleans native and growing up here when we were murder capital of the world and experiencing the poverty that a lot of me and my other young friends experience as well. I think economic development is my big issue. If you look at the data, since 2000, we've lost 110,000 college educated people. So why are those people leaving? They're going to places like Texas, Georgia, Florida, any and everywhere else, because those are where the good paying jobs are. So we need to do something to attract industries and better jobs to our community, because those issues also lead to crime and the houselessness issues that we have in the city as well. So I believe that economic development can help us to actually ameliorate all of those issues, because we have to create businesses here. We have to invest in education. We have to invest in workforce training. We have to invest in public safety and infrastructure as well. And all of those investments will actually help bring good paying jobs to our district. So I believe in investing all those things and bringing those good jobs here. And also I would say that we are one of the only states without a common sense commercial water usage law. So we need to have the adult conversation about balancing industry water usage of our fresh drinking waters, as well as face the impending water crisis that we got coming to Carrollton right near the district as well. So these are two issues that I believe are pressing for us because we don't know what we're going to be experiencing in the next few weeks with this water crisis as well. So those are my two big issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mina. Appreciate that answer. We're going to move on to the next question. And for this question, we'll begin with Tammy Savoy. The question is, how will you support women's reproductive rights and women's health issues? Tammy Savoy.
Okay, thank you for the question. It's a very concerning issue, of course. So women's reproductive rights, I am pro women's bodily autonomy. I really believe that right now, given the current state of affairs, we really need to mitigate harm. We need to make sure that women, there are exceptions to the abortion ban. So life of the mother, rape, incest. We need to make sure that the mifepristone pills, the pills that you know I'm talking about, are available to women right after rape, right after incest, or in fact to save their lives in terms of medical care, because that's what the doctors do to induce an abortion where the fetus is not viable. And right now physicians can't do that, and they're afraid to do that because they may go to jail. So it's really important that we clarify the laws for our physicians and our medical providers so that they can provide obstetrical care to our young women who are having babies. So this is not just an abortion issue. This is an issue of medical care for women. And the idea is very unconstitutional that you can take a woman's medical record and look at it if she goes out of state for care. That is abominable. It's autocratic. It's awful. And we have to stop that. We have to stop the person who wants to do that by preventing him from getting to the governor's office. So, you know, there's so many things that we can do to mitigate the harm. And once we mitigate the harm, we need to bring more people in that understand that women's bodily autonomy leads to their well-being. It is their God-given right to control our bodies. And I believe that we need to get there again. I think that's going to take a long time, but I think we have to start with harm mitigation in our current legislature, working with what we have to make sure that all those exceptions, hopefully they will get into law this legislative session coming up in 2024. Thank you so much, Ms. Valerie.
Thank you. Brian Jefferson, same question.
Like we like to oftentimes complicate things and make them so difficult. I read medical records every day as part of what I do for a living. My clients have to authorize me to have access to their medical records. When I look at ladies' reproductive rights, I see this as a patient-physician issue. It's a medical issue, and that's between the patient and the doctor. The lady is afforded her privacy, and it's very simple. If I could get pregnant, we wouldn't be talking about this right now. If men could get pregnant and carry babies, this wouldn't be an issue. Now, from a healthcare standpoint, it was so refreshing. I was reading how Ochsner is talking to Xavier about a medical school. I Ochsner on the North Shore is starting a residency program for young clinicians who want to get into the field of family medicine or primary care physicians. I think we should do that more, particularly with our young clinicians, because it's going to be a different world, a different battle. And we need to revert. Things are cyclical, even our clothes. Sooner or later, what guys were wearing in 1970 are going to come back in style. Same thing with ladies. The old way of doing medicine, Dr. Marcus Welby, going to homes, that kind of physician-patient relationship. We need to train our clinicians and give them incentives for going out into the field. A lot of people, everybody wants to be healthy and live forever. Everybody doesn't have access to medical. Some people don't have access to medical because they don't have the wherewithal to even get to the doctor. We need to bring it to their doorsteps. Also, we're not a real rural community, but there are some people way out in New Orleans East, right, that may benefit from that. Also, certain diseases or physical maladies have stigmas attached to them. So people don't want to go to the doctor simply because of that. Perhaps if we had these young clinicians trained to take the treatment to the patient. So that's what I would be in favor of.
Thank you so much. Sean Mina.
So thank you for the question. As Mr. Jefferson was just saying, I, as a man, don't think I should have any opinion on this at all. You know, I couldn't imagine being mandated to get a vasectomy. It's just not right. And we should allow women to make their own choices with their body. As a man with a wife and a mother, you know, I just couldn't imagine either of them being mandated to do anything that they do not want to do. I do believe in pro-choice, and I think polls show that the majority of Louisianians are actually pro-choice as well. So we have to back abortion policies that are upholding fundamental human rights. That's important because we have to guarantee everyone's ability to independently and knowledgeably choose what's best for their reproductive well-being. Also, there's a pilot program going on in the city of New Orleans where they actually have nurses that are going to women that have just had babies, houses, and actually providing lactation consultation and, you know, just making sure that the house is prepared for a young lad. And I think we need to expand that program to be more than just New Orleans. There should be those type of services throughout the state, because we can't call ourselves pro-family and we're not investing in our youngest citizens. So I do believe that that's where we need to go. And also we have to properly fund all these things, because postpartum health care for the mom is the most important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Pearl Ricks.
Thank you. So one, I want to say that not all pregnant people are women and not all women can get pregnant. We need to be thinking more expansively when we think about women reproductive rights, because the truth is this impacts trans men, this impacts non-binary people, and people who are on a spectrum in terms of gender and on a spectrum in terms of sex, including intersex people. So I first wanted to say that I think the first thing that we need to do is to implement paid family and medical leave to alleviate the time and the stress and the negative economic impact of having time to heal, to bond if you have just given birth, if you're a birthing person, or to take care of a loved one who is in your family. We need to ensure that people can take care of themselves and their families, especially as primary caregivers, so that we can have a robust workforce, student force, economy. Everyone needs space to heal, and without being concerned that they are losing income and that they may possibly lose their job. I also believe that we need to ensure that we don't see any legislation like has been seen in Texas with SB 7, which I call the snitch legislation, which would mean that your privacy, your dignity with healthcare could go away. Your neighbors would be used to snitch on you. They would be deputized, and that would fall into the line of criminalizing people's bodies and the things that they wish to do. I also want to make sure that we provide gender affirming care to everyone within Louisiana. We know that gender affirming care can look like therapy. It can look like fertility treatments. It can look like treatments for PCOS, and that has been attacked, and it has been attacked in a binary way. And I believe that to conquer us, they first need to divide us. So those things, along with legislation being worded so that it is highly inclusive, so legislation and offices created to help women are not then turned around and weaponized against non-binary folks, trans people, or intersex people in the future. And checking on time, am I pretty much at time?
Yes, you got 4 seconds.
All right, well then we're good, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you for that answer.
Okay, and
yes.
also, Pastor Manny, I want to say it's almost time for the first forum to finish. We're supposed to finish at 5:45.
What time is it now, Valerie?
5:42.
Okay, let me ask this. We're gonna skip ahead to this very last question I have here for the candidates. Let me ask this. And this will begin with Brian Jefferson. What committees will you seek to serve on and why?
The first thing that pops in my mind is insurance. And I'm hoping, though, that passing that will be short-lived and that our crisis will end soon. But as it's looming now, and once again, I always start with the working families of our city and to try to keep as many dollars inside the house to save as much as possible so that families can have more disposable income and they can invest that in things that really matter. Their kids, extracurricular activities, or school related. Even if you go to public schools, there are still costs that are associated with schools, expenses that parents have. So I would look at that. And I'm just going to backtrack just for a second. I talked about gun safety before. I'm in no way trying to suggest that I'm going to trample on a person's rights, gun rights, and anything like that. That biometric trigger lock system would be voluntary, and you benefit from it with purchasing the gun, of course. But definitely insurance. And earlier, like I said, not only homeowners insurance, the auto insurance issue touches upon, even if you don't own a home, you can own a car, a vehicle, and your transportation. And some people don't have auto insurance because they can't afford it. And then they run into someone and that person can't be compensated, their medical bills can't be paid, and then that's passed on to Medicaid, which is passed on to taxpayers. So we really need to address the auto insurance using the credit score as well. So I would seek to participation on the insurance related committee.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Sean Mina, same question.
Yes, I would say the first one would be criminal justice, just because with all the fervor that's going on in the state of crime is so bad when, as we all stated earlier, that there has been a drop in violent crime in the city. I think we're probably going to see a slew of legislative bills offered by folks from outside of New Orleans, just trying to crack down on a crime problem that doesn't frankly exist in New Orleans as they perceive it. So I think we'll need somebody local who actually understands what's going on the ground to actually fight back against those type of laws that will kind of bring back, lock them up and throw away the key type legislation. Also, education is a big thing out here. As I stated earlier, I grew up here and went to all public schools. And, a lot of folks here want to have the public school system back that we grew up with. So can that actually be achieved? I don't know, but we need to work with the New Orleans public school system to see how we can get some of those schools back into their control. Also commerce as well. As I stated, economic development is very important to me. So I do believe that we need to have somebody on that committee to actually fight for the needs of District 23 to bring forth new jobs and new industries to the district. So I think that those three committees would be great ones for the district. And, I would hope that any one of us would decide to be on one or if not all of those committees.
Thank you. Pearl Rick, same question.
So not in any particular order, because I struggle with ordering them. Health and welfare is one. I believe that we need access to full spectrum healthcare, and we need to ensure that the attacks on people's privacy and their dignity is stopped. These decisions belong between an individual and their provider. Legislation and legislators do not belong in the examination room. They do not belong in our bedrooms. And I also believe that they don't belong in our classrooms. So my next is education, and that is to ensure that we can provide robust curriculums for not only students of District 23, but for students across the state, to ensure that our schools, our public schools, are resourced, and to ensure that we have a not so much of a patchwork of treatment and expectations when it comes to our students across the state. I believe that curriculum needs to be not only robust, but it also needs to be culturally relevant and needs to ensure that we have age-appropriate sexual education and the inclusion of the history that we so often see and are more and more seeing folks want to erase. I also would like to be on ways and means, and that is because as an ED, I love finding resources. I love finding out where the money is to execute and implement some of these ideas. So I get excited when I think about ways and means and finding out where in these budgets we can reallocate monies to ensure that we can run this programming that we have ideas for, that we can ensure that these resources are available and that they're not going to go away, that they're not a one-time bonus to educators when bills are not one time. Life is not one time. Things go on, and that being a small example. And then the fourth would be criminal justice. And, we spend, I think that goes hand in hand with education. We spend as a state about $12,000 a year per pupil to educate. But when it comes to incarcerating that same people, we could be spending up to $155,000. That is inappropriate. That is not right. And our administration of criminal justice, that committee sees the outcomes of those types of actions or inaction year in, year out. I'm looking to be intersectional in the way that I advocate and the way that I move and the way that I build legislation and relationships at the Capitol. And those would be the spaces I would do it in. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Tammy Savoy, same question.
You on mute. Miss Savoy, you on mute.
Okay, so here we
All
go.
right, there you go.
So the first one would be natural resources and environment. Like I said before, I think the climate crisis is an existential crisis. So this is an area I also think can bridge the gap between Republican and Democrat, because if you don't talk about the ideology and you just talk about what's happening in our city and in our state, Republicans are likely to get on board. And I have met with many Republicans who acknowledge that we have a problem, that we need to do something about it. And if we can show the economic advantages of addressing climate change, Republicans are likely to get on board. This is something we can tackle and we can do. The other thing is, this is also an economic driver. We need to lead in this area. We're on the forefront. New Orleans can be the economic driver, or sustainable energy can be the economic driver in New Orleans and Louisiana. The second one is transportation, because I've been a member of the Sierra Club last 3 years working on sustainable transportation and access to transportation for everybody. Because when you talk about transportation, when you talk about access to medical care, to groceries, to school, you can't do it without talking about transportation. And right now we don't have a good transportation system in our city and state. The next one would be the House and Government Affairs. We need somebody on that who's going to know that, redistricting and voting is very important. And we need somebody, and I track this. I'm on the Democratic State Central Committee. I was the chair of, I led the redistricting area for us. I went to the Capitol on this. I'm very aware of what went on. And I think that we're going to have to readdress a lot of these issues, and I'll be there to make sure we do it fairly. And the last two, education, health, and welfare. These are right up my alley. I've been doing this all my life. Health and welfare, of course, I'm very intimately aware of the healthcare system, the medical industrial complex that we have here in our state and in our city, in our country. So those are the ones I would say. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that answer. We're gonna have to skip the Q&A from the participants on the platform tonight. We're going to move right to closing remarks from each of our candidates. I'm going to ask first, Sean Mina, if you would give us 60 seconds just to wrap up and give us some closing remarks. Tell us maybe how we can support you, of those who choose to do so, please.
Yes. First of all, thank you all so much for being in attendance and actually hosting this forum. It's a great civic service that you all are doing. Once again, I'm a lifelong resident of District 23. This is my home. It will always be my home. And I truly believe that my legislative experience on the state level and the federal level, and also my communal knowledge, makes me the best suited candidate to be the advocate for District 23. I have a passion for this community. It's been my home and I would love to represent it. Thank you all. And if you want to support, you can check out my Instagram page, elect Sean Mina, and go to the website, seanmina.com. And my number on the ballot is number 50. Thank you all so much.
Sean Mina, we thank you for being here with us tonight and taking your time to share your thoughts and passion about this election with us. We wish you the greatest level of success as you continue to campaign. Let's move now to Pearl Ricks, closing remarks.
Yes, one more time. My name is Pearl Ricks. My pronouns are they, them, and my ballot number is 51. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I appreciate the support not only of individuals in the community, but also several endorsing bodies, Alliance for Good Government, Forum for Equality, Step Up for Action PAC, the Victory Fund, and as well as 10,000 women here in Louisiana. And that is growing. The reason is because not only am I connected to community through organizing and boots on the ground, but I'm also connected to legislative advocacy. I've been up at the Capitol already. I understand the environment. I understand the movers, and I am unafraid to do the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable. I have worked with Representatives Mandy Landry, Representative Boyd, Knox, Hughes, Willard, Stagney, Senator Duplessis. These are all names and people that I see up at the Capitol and already have relationships with, and that is a short list. I want to be empowered by my community to slingshot all of the efforts I've been working on within this space over the past 10 years over legislative advocacy and take it to the other side. Thank you so much. I hope that I receive your vote and your support.
Pearl Ricks, we're so grateful that you showed up tonight and shared your heart and your passion and your platform with us. Best wishes to you as you continue to campaign. Tammy Savoy.
Yes, thanks again, everybody. I'm Tammy Savoy. My ballot number is 52. It's been an honor to be here. You know, I spent many years serving our country, and I hope to continue to serve our district, our city, and our state as your representative. After I got back from my service in the Air Force, I immediately put my experience in activism to work, and I got involved. I ran against Steve Scalise. I challenged legislation that was bad for our city and our district, especially in denying the passage of open gun carry laws. And as a member of the Sierra Club for the past 3 years, I've worked specifically on transit issues with the goal of developing sustainable transit system. And we're going to get passenger rail from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. That's going to happen. We've been working on that. Based on my extensive policy experience, writing, implementing, and evaluating healthcare policy for the Secretary of Defense, and as the Chief of International Health, and based on my business experience as a program manager and branch chief at the European Office of Aerospace Research and Development, I believe I'm uniquely qualified and the best candidate to fight the good fight for the citizens of District 23. Thank you so much. You can go to my website, tammysavoy.com, to support me, and my ballot number is 52. Thank you, Ms. Ballard. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tammy. You're welcome, Tammy. Thank you for being here. We wish you greatest success as you continue to campaign. Let's see, Brian Jefferson.
Yes, thank you, Reverend Manning and Justice Beyond and Ms. Valerie for having us tonight. I'm a native New Orleanian, and you know, I've talked about different topics, but I never touched upon social justice issues. And if in the late 1950s, if you wanted your child to go to an all-boys private school here in New Orleans, you had one choice, St. Augustine High School. And a lot of the names or some of the names that Pearl alluded to as legislators, they went there to that same school. And that school is run by an order of priests called the Josephites out of Washington and Maryland. And they instilled in us a certain way of looking at the world and dealing with people. And it's outside of your choice for religion. It's treating people the way you want to be treated. It's straight from the Bible. So this is a very commonsensical way of even dealing with our day-to-day lives and work, and taking that to the legislature and getting something done. the overwhelming majority of, there's a super majority or on the cusp of being, if not now, the legislative Republicans. Everyone is a Democrat. So
Thank
we
you, Mr. Jefferson. Can you wind it up now? Because you done did your
10
minute.
seconds, 10 seconds, Mr. Jefferson.
All right, so my number is 49. Obviously, I have a lot more to say. info@brianjefferson23.com. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all of you. Best wishes to you all as you hit the campaign trail, and hope to see you again at Justice and Beyond. Thank you for being there tonight. All right, everybody, we're going to continue with our District 91 candidates. We have two candidates that have given up of their time to be here tonight to talk with those that are here, and we appreciate them for being here tonight. Those candidates are Mr. Ed Carlson, and we appreciate him for being here today, and Ms. Madison O'Malley. And so we're going to begin with some introductions. And so we're going to begin with Mr. Carlson, and I ask that you would just give us a little bit of information, 1 minute introduction about who you are and why you are running, please.
Pastor Manning.
Yeah.
May I introduce my signs first to the candidates?
Yeah, please go ahead, Valerie.
Thank you. Okay, this is we on a time limit. So when it comes to like you have 2 minutes, when you come to 1 minute, you will see a smiling face. Then you will see a 1 minute. That means you have 1 minute left. Then when that 1 minute is up, you will see this. Then you will see this.
Hard stop. I see it. I got it. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you,
Valerie. Well done. Well done. All right, we're going to begin with Mr. Ed Carlson. Would you give us a 1 minute introduction of yourself?
Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Ed Carlson. I'm running for District 91 as a state representative. I'm running primarily because of the issue related to drugs and drug addiction. In 2009, there were 10 deaths in the whole state of Louisiana from opioid overdose. 10. Last year, there were 490 in Orleans Parish alone. To make the connection between drug addiction and the drug problem and crime is a pretty easy one to connect. I'm the CEO, my regular job, I'm the CEO of Odyssey House. We're the largest addiction treatment provider in the state of Louisiana, treating about 25,000 people a year on average. We have about a $40 million budget. We do everything from primary care, mental health, and substance abuse treatment, all driven with the substance abuse treatment process. I wrote a paper after Hurricane Katrina on how to reduce crime in the city of New Orleans by providing substance abuse treatment services as a demand reduction approach. And that's going to take everyone from the criminal justice system, the courts, the probation, parole, the jails, everybody working together to be able to provide services. And I'm going to stop. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Valerie.
That was good. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Miss Madison O'Malley, please, same question, just a brief introduction of yourself, 1 minute.
Well, it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having us on. My name is Madison O'Malley, running for state representative in District 91. I can tell you I decided to run for this because I was not planning on it, but I kept running into things that came up in my career and where I was working and things that kept coming up in the legislature. So I worked in healthcare. I started out as a scribe and helped take notes for doctors in the emergency room after I graduated from Loyola. So I noticed a lot that could be done at the legislature to help people access healthcare, to expand upon our Medicaid. And I had just started working after we had Medicaid expansion. So I saw a lot of new patients that were seeing doctors for the first time consistently. I then worked in coordinated care for patients that were underinsured and uninsured and that had been injured. And so it was gaps in our healthcare system and what we could be doing better at the legislature to fix those things. I started a company that inspected properties. We worked on behalf of attorneys that were filing claims against homeowners insurance. And so this opened my eyes to the huge crisis that we have with our insurance and really the affordability of housing and how rent has gone up. And I talked to so many people that were losing their housing. I'll stop and we'll continue.
All right. Thank you for that answer.
Quick.
For yes, for that introduction.
That's okay.
Let's go on and Ms. O'Malley, we're going to begin with you for this next question. Please describe your revised district with the changes in District 93 and the new District 23, and what challenges that you are facing, please?
So with redistricting, this district has changed dramatically now. It changed 10 points demographically. Obviously, this was historically a minority district. We voted in the legislature and that was changed by the incumbent. So now it is now a majority white district for the first time since the 1970s. Interestingly enough, with redistricting, there was supposed to be 6 minority districts created at the legislature. We have District 23 that's been created, thankfully, but this district is now no longer a minority seat. With that being said, I think redistricting is always on everyone's mind and has been so more because of the congressional redistricting. So people are just aware of this now. But I see 3 things come up consistently, no matter what door I'm at: public safety and people's concerns there, public education, and there just being a really lack of conversation and how we can better public education. The 3rd thing would be insurance. And I see insurance and the affordability of insurance, no matter who I'm talking to, come up, no matter if you're a renter or a small business owner. So that continues to come up. I have 1 more minute. I thought I was at the end, sorry. I could say about public education, I went to public school my entire life. And so I really see public education as being a big issue in the district because there's been no legislation that's been passed on anything education related in this seat. I think there's such an opportunity with job and technical training, with career training. We can work with people that are coming home from incarceration that will affect our recidivism. That becomes education. I also think early childhood education and securing more seats there becomes so important, as well as looking at children that maybe lost out on 2 years of school because of the pandemic. What can we be doing to improve funding there? So that is just 2 things that I hear all the time.
All right. Thank you for that. And I should have said up front that each of you get 2 minutes to answer each question. So I apologize. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the to Mr. Ed Carlson. Same question for you. Oh, did I ask that question already?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Definitely. So can you describe the changes in your district and what it looks like now in terms of the changes from District 93 and the new District 23 and what challenges that presents?
Yeah, I think Madison did a really good job sort of outlining some of the issues and the problems with the district and the redistricting in the area. I think that it's something that sort of looks kind of strange to me on paper because it was primarily a minority district before the redistricting process. But, you know, politics as they are, everybody's making their deals up in Baton Rouge. And this is not the only district that had sort of some strange movement. I was very happy in the fact that we actually picked up an additional district here in New Orleans, which really will help us a lot more. The more people we have from New Orleans and Baton Rouge, it will help. I'm also, as Madison mentioned, very concerned about the fact that there was so much movement against creating another minority congressional district, and which I think is really very important because people have to have representation, and our representatives should reflect the population that we're serving, and the district should be written and drawn as such. And I think these are really very fundamental things. I think one of the things that I would definitely strive for is to make sure that we have proper representation, and that there's an opportunity to be able to have people be able to be represented by the people that look like them. And I think that that's a really important part of what we have to have as in a democracy. And I think being able to share that and make sure that that's correct, I think is very important. And, you know, it's something that we're constantly kind of struggling and dealing with but I think I'm feeling pretty confident that the courts are going to mandate that Louisiana is going to have to change its congressional district. So, and that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much for that answer.
You said stop.
Thank you for that answer. And Mr. Carlson, we're going to begin with you with this next question. What are your priorities in your district and statewide, and what do you want to achieve in the course of your tenure in office?
So my priority is going to be to deal with the issue related to addiction and its impact on our communities. If you just take a look across the board, the addiction to drugs and alcohol has a huge impact on us here in Louisiana. You know, there's some statistics out there that show that people in Louisiana drank 16 times more than the national average. That's just alcohol. Then we also have problems with opioids and other drugs. I mean, we have problems with drug dealers on the street and the problems with fentanyl and the drugs that are being distributed. But we also have the pharmaceutical companies, whereas right now, as of a couple of months ago, for every 100 people in Louisiana, 74 of them have an opioid prescription, which doesn't make any sense at all. You got the pharmaceutical on one end that are addicting our population, you people that are engaging in drugs and drug behavior, which is affecting the population. And all of this has a huge impact on crime, healthcare, right? Business and productivity and how people can work and be in the community. It has an impact on families, education, everything across the board. And us being able to figure out a way to be able to solve this problem will have the biggest impact. And I think that will have an impact on our state. We all talk about economic development and bringing more businesses here to Louisiana. One of the first things we're going to have to do is we're going to have to deal with our crime problem. Although crime has come down, but it's not as big as a drop as you might think. People shouldn't get comfortable. I wrote this paper on how to reduce crime in 2008. And I've changed it, updated up to now. And today it's 2023. So it's not going away. I kind of joke that New Orleans and Louisiana, we've been on kind of like a 300-year binge, and we need to kind of sober up a little bit to focus on making some changes and reset our priorities. You know, everything can't be le bon temps roulé. You know, we've got to be able to get out and actually make some changes in the work that we need to do. But businesses aren't going to come here as long as we have problems with the with addiction. And I'll stop. Sorry, Valerie.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Madison O'Malley, please. Next question. The same question for you.
Great. So when I graduated from Loyola and I later went to UNO, graduated, I continue to see all of my young friends, young professionals, young families leave the city of New Orleans. I can count on one hand how many of my friends are still here. And so I think about a lot of economic development, but also what we can be doing. It comes back to affordable housing and our insurance crisis. What kind of reforms we need at the state legislative level. The legislature is responsible for regulating property and casualty insurance with the insurance commissioner. So we're just not doing a good job about that. I think one of the ways we can do better is to reevaluate citizens, lowering that 10% cap, talking about reinsurance, and then a lot of incentives for sustainable housing, mitigation after storms, all of those things. But it comes back to affordable housing as well. And so I see that as a huge problem right now. We've obviously had a larger population of unhoused at this point, and that's because there's not affordable housing. So we need to be encouraging any type of development of affordable housing. We need to be working with people, whether it's tax incentives. We need to be bringing those developers into the city. We need to be encouraging them at the state level to do so to house our population. The second thing I think about is healthcare. So I worked in healthcare. I see a huge maternal healthcare crisis, and we've talked a whole lot about it, and there's not been a solution. I think it comes back to our healthcare providers and how we get more of them here, how our medical schools could be training more providers, how we can get more nurses here. I think adjusting reimbursement rates will encourage more people to come practice here, expanding our healthcare systems and our healthcare infrastructure. So all of those things get me excited, but I see a lot of opportunity with affordable housing and a lot of things we could be doing in healthcare.
Thank you for that response. And Ms. O'Malley, we'll begin with you for this next question. The question is, will you support, or rather, how will you support women's reproductive rights and women's health issues?
So I'm incredibly pro-choice. I have two younger sisters, so I always like to say our generation is going to be the first generation that will have fewer rights than their grandmothers did, which the gravity of that is crazy when you think about it. I do think it comes down to improving our healthcare infrastructure. So I talked a lot about how do we get more providers here. We need to be really thinking about women's healthcare providers to better women's health. And it really does come down to how do we get more provider relationships? How do we get more primary care providers to have relationships with their patients? And I think the more we do that, the more we're going to see a repeal of these laws. I am not supportive of any criminalization for women providers. We need to have so many protections there. I definitely think it becomes such a constitutional problem. And so whatever we can do to better our quality of healthcare here and our healthcare system, that's how we need to start fighting this.
All right. Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. Mr. Carlson, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, sir. I'm pro-choice. I believe in women being able to make the choice associated with choosing whether or not they want to have a pregnancy or not. I have 2 daughters. My daughters left the state because of the changes associated with it, because they're not interested in living someplace where they can't make their own reproductive decisions. So I look at things through their lens and their eyes and the people. I run a medical clinic for Odyssey House, and we hire doctors and stuff, and we have a hard time recruiting people because medical professionals are leaving the state because of the problems associated with these requirements that we have, and archaic requirements specifically around abortion. And you can't make any kind of decisions really, because if you're caught making any kind of decisions, you could lose your license and you could, maybe be criminally prosecuted. So basically, there's a huge demand for doctors and nurse practitioners elsewhere. People are like, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And so we're going to find that our decisions to limit people's individual rights are going to have huge economic impacts on us across as we're moving farther and farther into this. People want to talk about, you could give away all the tax credits you want, but if people aren't going to move here to be able to actually want to live here, because going to have to, they can't make the choices that they want to make for their own lives. And it really is a big shun off for businesses that want to come here and be here. I think it's real travesty that we've gone down this path. Unfortunately, we're going to need to do something really, really big to be able to, we'll probably have to do something on the federal level because of the way the makeup is in the legislature to be able to do anything. And my dogs don't like it either. They're very upset about it. So I can hear him barking over there. I'm pro-choice. I would do anything I could do to help to change that, and any opportunity I would have in the legislature to make those changes, I would definitely jump on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Thank you for that answer. We're going to begin with you for the next question. What issues would you address in the House concerning LGBTQ residents, Black and brown people, juveniles, incarcerated peoples, and poverty? What would you do to address these in the House? Starting with Mr. Carlson.
Okay, Pastor Manny, we got to watch the time. They supposed to be finished at 6:15.
What time is it?
6:15.
All right. Okay. Then this is my point to go with the last question, and then maybe we'll get some other get some questions in from the participants. So let me just move on to the last one here. The last one says, what committees will you seek to join and why? Mr. Carlson.
So I would first, of course, be on health and welfare, and then I would also be on criminal justice, would be the ones that I would focus on, because the connection between crime and addiction are very, very, addiction treatment are very connected. And I believe that I could reduce crime by 30% across the board, just initially reorganizing our substance abuse treatment delivery system. The state can have a plan, and nobody's holding the state accountable, the Office of Behavioral Health in particular, having a plan to deal with the overdose epidemic and the problems that we have with addiction treatment services. So the first thing we do is we would be focused on developing a plan. The second thing we would be focusing on doing is how can we bring in more providers and more services specifically for the addiction field. One of the things I would do is ask for an 1115 waiver to be able to bill Medicaid for the last 90 days that people are incarcerated in both prisons and jails. That would actually bring money to the table for the state to be able to provide substance abuse treatment services, mental health services, and primary care services. And I would actually do that in connection with federally qualified health centers. I run a federally at FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center. And I would like to see that process expanded specifically for that to help make sure that people access those services. And I would actually like to see a doubling of the amount of federally qualified FQHCs in the state. Why we don't tap into this federal dollars and this money that we could have to be able to provide services. When I think about maternal health or primary care issues or people being able to get access to medical care, I mean, you could have all the free medical services you want, but if people can't get it and access it, it doesn't help it. So I would like to double the number of federally qualified health centers we have in the state and help us to be able to expand those services dramatically. I also would really focus on how we can actually use the criminal justice system as an intervention to change people's behavior and start the process of rehabilitation, not just incarceration. Putting people away. I worked in prisons for 10 years, and I can tell you, if you're not doing something, they become crime factories. People come out worse than when they came in. And if you don't reorganize that system to be able to actually deal with helping people to change their behavior, you're not going to be able to do anything. And I'm going to stop. For Valerie's
Right. Thank you,
Valerie.
Mr. Carlson. Ms. O'Malley.
So I have a top three, and this is not in any order, but insurance comes to me first, just because I talk to people every day, and I talked to somebody just before this call, their homeowners insurance had doubled. When I think about that for working class people and how that would have impacted myself and my family, that really, we lose a generation of homeowners in the city. We lose people that could stay here. We lose professionals that are not able to rent here, and it pushes them outside of New Orleans. But we have the opportunity on that committee to talk about car insurance and how that becomes so impactful to working class people too. So I see that as just becoming a quality of life and a day-to-day thing. The second thing I think we can make the biggest impact on is education. Our solution to any long-term problem here becomes how do we better our education and our education system. I don't think our New Orleans delegation has enough of a seat at the table. I think we should all be up there on education because our education system has made some improvements, but there's a lot of work to do. And there's a lot of new ideas and innovation we need to be really pushing for there. The last thing I think is appropriations. Appropriations, again, in New Orleans, we are the tax base for most of the state. We don't get enough of our funding back here. We need to have a real advocate that can work on making sure that we get the appropriate appropriations back to New Orleans. I think it comes down to our infrastructure funding and so many more things, but everything gets through that appropriations committee.
All right, very good, very good. Thank you for that answer. And like District 23, we don't have time for any questions from our participants tonight. So we're going to move right to our closing remarks. If you would take 1 minute, beginning with Ms. O'Malley, to give us some closing remarks.
Right. Well, I think the most important thing that we see in the legislature and that we see with constituents is showing up. I think you have to show up to fight for what we believe in. We have to show up to talk to constituents. You have to show up to talk to any stakeholder. And so I see that as being something really missing from this district. And I want to be there to show up and fight for what we deserve and what we need. I believe that we need a bold voice, but someone who's also consistent. And so I want to be there to do that too. Whenever I talk about wanting to run for office, or I think about why I'm here doing this, I think about my own family. My dad was a Teamster growing up and still is. And so there were three things that were so important to my family. It was affordability of housing, making sure that they could achieve home ownership. It was public education, making sure that we could get quality public schools. And if those public schools gave us the opportunity to go to college. And the third thing was healthcare and benefits, and whether or not we could have access to quality healthcare, doctors, and things that would, if we were sick, get better. So I see those three things as being impacted every day in New Orleans and in the state. And just it comes down to the quality of life and how important local government is. But again, my name is Madison O'Malley. I will be number 55 on the ballot. And it's wonderful to be here and show up and talk with all of you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. We appreciate you being here today. We wish you the greatest level of success as you continue to campaign. Thank you for just showing up and giving of your time. We appreciate you. Mr. Ed Carlson, closing remarks.
Thank you. So So my primary issues you've gotten, because I run Odyssey House, is about addiction and trying to focus on eliminating and dropping the problems related to addiction that impacts us across the board in our society. This is a solvable problem. I was appointed by the governor to the Drug Policy Board. I was the founder of our statewide provider association. I'm president of our National Association, Treatment Communities of America. I also do work in Vienna, Austria with the United Nations, specifically around helping to write policy for nations. There's about 500 of us, so I'm not by myself, from around the world, that we focus on helping to develop policy for nations to deal with addiction and crime and the problems associated with addiction and crime. And so I find that I feel like I'm very qualified to be able to help to deal with this issue. And this issue crosses across so many different boards that it has an impact in so many different ways that it is, if we don't deal with it, we're never going to get ourselves out of the hole that we're currently in. And I'm tired of seeing Louisiana on the bottom of all the wrong lists and at the top of all the wrong lists. I'm really tired of constant just talk about these things and nobody actually dealing with them and creating practical applications to problems that we have and how we can actually fix these problems. And I believe that I can bring that to, as a representative from District 91, I believe in Baton Rouge, I can bring it to Baton Rouge. And I can help to have this impact across the state. And I think that it would be something that could change the way that the world looks at us. I love New Orleans. I love the state of Louisiana. I'm not going anywhere. As I joke with Madison, if she wins, I'm going to bug the hell out of her. I'm just gonna, I'm here no matter what. And I will continue to do the advocacy work that I have been doing for the last 37 years on this particular issue. And I know that this is a solvable problem and we can fix it. So I appreciate you all's time tonight. This has been very great, and I'm happy that you all allowed us here to speak. And and I've had a lot of fun with running. It's my first time running for public office, and I'm enjoying myself. So, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. We appreciate you being here. We wish you all the best, and thank you for what you do in this city, both as you are letting us know on this forum tonight, but just what you do on an everyday basis is much needed. And to you both, I just appreciate your congeniality towards one another, and even being respectful for the one candidate that is not here. Thank you so much for just that spirit. It really helps in terms of what we're all feeling and dealing with in terms of the visceral nature of things and how they can be sometimes. So thank you all both for your spirit in this.
Absolutely.
And so, yes. So with that said, we're going to move towards, first I'm going to open it up. If there's any other candidates that are in this space, we always like to give you time at Justice and Beyond to tell us who you are and have a few minutes. So let me ask that first. Are there any other candidates that are joining us tonight? Any other race, any other election, whatnot? All right, no candidates. So we're going to go to any closing, any announcements that anybody has that we need to be made aware of so we can show up to support any events. Are there any announcements about any upcoming events that you all would like to share with us? All right. Very good. Very good. I do want to say that we are interested in increasing the voter turnout. By we, I mean myself as a member of the organization Together New Orleans. Together New Orleans has launched a Together We Vote campaign that is getting people to pledge to vote. If you go to Together New Orleans website, togetherneworleans.org, you can find the pledge to vote information, QR code, the website, the app. You can find all of that. We're trying to get people just to pledge that they will go out and vote. So go to Together New Orleans, download some information, send it out to all your people, all your platform, get them there to vote. There is a prize as associated with how many people each organization gets out to vote or pledges to vote, that is. And so you can, if you want to sign up an organization, under an organization, you can do Broadmoor Community Church, and then maybe we will get the prize here. And so, but most of all, it's just important that you go out and vote, early vote, and make sure that you go out and vote in the election on October the 14th, correct?
Yes.
Yes. All right. No
Pastor Manning,
announcements. Yes.
Pastor Manning, yeah, Pearl just posted that she had something she would like to share,
Absolutely.
an
Go
event.
ahead. Pearl, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. And I'm not affiliated with this event in any way. I'm sure there are a couple of things going on the 5th, but censorship and book banning has been a theme that we're seeing across the state, and we know that we're seeing it across the nation. Not only are they attacking our books for our history, but also for the information we need to learn for everyone. So there is a banned book festival that's happening at Baldwin and Company on the 5th. I'm personally excited to go and pick out some of my favorite books that would be banned if efforts move forward, and to meet other people in the community that are looking to ensure that information is freely accessible for everyone. So I just wanted to drop that in there because I think it'll be fun. And I do believe you'll probably get to meet some more candidates, because it seems like we all know how important this is. So yeah, I hope to see you all there.
Pearl, thank you for that. I appreciate the fact that you stayed for the District 91 candidate forum as well, too.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
thank
sorry,
you.
Earl, where is that going to be?
That's going to be at Baldwin and Company Books on Elysian Fields. They're right there at the corner where the jeans was. I don't have the exact address, but I did put a link in the chat to the information for that festival, and it has like the date and the time and whatnot. And I know I'll have some free books that I'll be giving out just because of organizing work. So I think it's a great opportunity. Bring everyone. It's a intergenerational opportunity to grow community around, issues and celebrate our culture and our books.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other announcements before we close? All right, very good. Hearing none, we're going to close with a word of prayer as we go on our way tonight, go our separate directions. Again, thank you all for being here. It is extremely important that we go to the polls as educated voters, that we listen, that we learn, and we vote our conscience. But voting our conscience means that we have heard from our candidates. We know their platform. We're not simply pressing a button. So thank you all for getting educated on tonight. Let's close in prayer. Oh God, we ask God that you would bring change in our city, bring change in our state, bring change in our nation. Oh God, we're so tired of the polarization that is happening. God, we ask that you would create a new culture and put in place people who have a sense that the old school way of doing politics needs to be out the window, and we need to try something new. For what has been going on is not working for everybody. So God, we ask that you would shift it, that you would put in place those who need to be in place that will cause that change to happen and become a ripple effect. And now, oh God, as we go our separate directions, we ask that you watch over us, that no hurt, harm, no danger would come to any of us. And God, that you would add a blessing to each of our lives and our families, and protect those and supply a need for all of those that have been marginalized and overlooked and that are most vulnerable. We ask this in the name of Almighty God, and I ask it in the name of my Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Amen. Good night, everybody. Be safe.